Despite being so good for most of this young season, the Yankees bullpen let them down on Saturday afternoon as they fall to the Tampa Bay Rays 3-2 in a game in which the Rays were able to score a pair of runs in the top of the eighth inning to take a 3-2 lead that they would not relinquish. And it came on the heels of a rough outing from Mark Leiter Jr. Ryan Yarbrough started the game, had some shaky moments, but overall pitched pretty well, going 4 innings, allowing 1 hit, 3 walks, 1 earned run, and 2 strikeouts. He came in and started this game instead of Clark Schmidt, who was a late scratch due to some issues that he is having with his side, and they're not going to put him on the IL. He's right now, they just kind of pushed his start back to Tuesday, so he's going to start Tuesday against the San Diego Padres, but they needed someone to fill in that spot, and Ryan Yarbrough got that nod, and he was really solid. Again, had some struggles at times, particularly with the walks, and that's what ended up letting the Rays score their first run of the game there in the second inning, an inning where he walked 2 Rays batters. But overall, he was really solid for them and gave them a chance to win. Ian Hamilton had, again, a couple of shaky moments, but ultimately struck out the side in his 5th inning. Fernando Cruz continued his absolute dominance with 2 very strong innings as well. And then Tim Hill ends up finishing the game with 5 outs. But alas, it was Mark Leiter's 2 earned runs on 2 hits and a walk in his 1/3 of an inning pitch that ended up not getting the Yankees what they needed. And this was a game with not a lot of offense. At one point in this game, the Yankees had only 2 hits, with both of them being solo home runs. Aaron Judge with his 11th home run of the year in the first, and then Austin Wells with his 6th in the 5th. And at that point, those were the only 2 Yankee hits on the day. And we got through the majority of this game with only 3 or 4 total hits combined for both teams. And just not a lot of offense, which is not, again, a huge shocker. We've talked about this on the podcast before. Typically, not always, it's baseball. It's a very unique sport, and you see things every day that sometimes you've never seen before. But typically, day game after night game is not very conducive to offensive output, and that's kind of what happened here, where only 5 hits for the Yankees, not a single walk drawn, which is really odd to see from this Yankees team. And 2 of the 5 hits came from Aaron Judge, with the other 2 guys in the big trio, Ben Rice and Paul Goldschmidt, each going 0 for 4. And Ben Rice is, as good as he's been to start the season, is kind of slumping a little bit here over the last few weeks. In the last last 7 games, he's got 5 games with no hits and only 1 multi-hit game. So he has been, he only has 1 multi-hit game since April 18th. And that was his game that was that monster game against Baltimore where he hit 2 home runs. So he's been slumping a little bit relative. I mean, all his peripheral numbers still look solid, but he has been slumping a little bit. But the rest of this lineup wasn't really able to get the job done today. Against Zach Littell, went 7 innings, allowed 3 hits, no walks, 2 earned runs. Doesn't strike out a ton of batters. That's not his game. He wants to go deep into games, but the Yankees just weren't able to get the job done today. And it's unfortunate because this was one of the games you were up 1-0, you were up 2-1, and you were hoping that this is a game that you would win and feel good about going into the Sunday series of either going for the sweep or knowing, okay, well, at least you won the series. Now it becomes a more critical game tomorrow afternoon, or I guess this afternoon as you're listening to this, tomorrow afternoon as I'm recording, the 1:35 p.m. start time with Will Warren and his little back and forth that he has had this season versus Taj Bradley. But, for the Yankees, the takeaway here is, look, Mark Leiter's had a couple tough games at times, but he's also been really solid for them, dating back to the postseason of last year. Don't have a ton of worries there. He just kind of looked a little bit off in this game. Where I am starting to, I don't want to say concern, because when you start to say the word concern, it kind of raises some red flags, and I don't want to do that yet, but I am troubled a bit by the Yankees lineup right now. And we've talked about it before. And obviously the addition of Paul Goldschmidt this season and Ben Rice's hot streak has helped supplement Aaron Judge having one of the best starts to a season that has ever existed. Fun fact, after these last 2 games, Aaron Judge now has a higher career slugging percentage than Barry Bonds. Think about that for a second. And we talked to, you know what I think about Barry Bonds and Aaron Judge. I talked about that on Friday's show. But it is incredibly remarkable what he's been doing. And someone put together, shout out to Bailey at Foolish Baseball, who, by the way, has an absolutely fantastic YouTube channel. If you do not watch Foolish Baseball, Foolish Bailey, and then obviously his signature series Baseball Bits on YouTube, you are missing out. Go seek it out. It is, in my opinion, the best video baseball series on YouTube. And I say that without any hesitation. So shout out to Bailey. But he put these together and he looked after the game on Saturday. And this is Aaron Judge's last 365 days. 159 games and 707 plate appearances. 63 home runs. 210 hits. 141 runs. 159 RBIs. 12 steals. With a slash line of 372, 497, 785, good for a WRC plus of 253. Keep in mind, 100 is average, so this is 2.5 times better than average, and a 14.3 F4. That's pretty remarkable. I mean, that's not even remarkable. Doesn't even begin to describe what that is. That is something that is unbelievably ridiculous. Like that is in the pantheon of all-time greats, what he's been able to do this last year and a half plus, honestly. And really, if you look back from this last 365, because you take out his struggles from last April and you see what those stats look like. But he's been great, continues to be great. We all know that. There's nothing more to say about that, although we will be talking and praising Judge plenty all the rest of this month and the rest of the season. Where I'm troubled and concerned is everybody else. And, Cody Bellinger led off today. He's still hitting below the Mendoza line. Austin Wells did get the homer, but he's been fighting it at the plate as well. Volpe is his peripherals are starting to look a little bit better. So there's a little bit of hope there, but he's still not where he needs to be. Jason Dominguez, after showing some really promising signs early, is really struggling. His OPS is under 700 right now. He's batting .223. Oswaldo's been fine. I'm not including him. He's not hitting for a lot of pop, but that's not what they needed him for. He's doing what he needs to do. He's supposed to be an 8 or 9 hitter that plays solid defense. Although he's had some defensive miscues, he's also had some really great plays out there. And the reality is that's a position that the Yankees always wanted to upgrade. So Oswaldo is doing what he needs to do. But the combination now with Jazz out for a little bit now, Jorbit Vivas has not had a chance to get his first hit yet. Trent Grisham is hitting well, but there's just not enough guys in this Yankees lineup that is hitting consistently well aside from Aaron Judge. And, last year the big issue with New York was felt like Judge, Soto, and nobody else. This year it's been Judge, Rice, and Goldschmidt and nobody else. And now Rice is kind of cooling off a little bit. And we're starting to see some issues. Now, again, day game after night game, I don't want to freak out. However, this is not a one-game issue for some of these guys. The Yankees absolutely, the Yankees aren't requiring Jorbit Vivas to be great. They don't need Oswaldo Cabrera to be great. They need more from Cody Bellinger. They need more from Anthony Volpe and Jason Dominguez and Austin Wells. And, at least with Austin, his defense has been solid. You look at the stolen bases, and I think some of it, too, is the pitchers. Like, you look at the guys that have the Rays stole a lot in this game. It's easy to steal. It's fairly easy to steal off Yarborough. It's fairly easy to steal off Mark Leiter. Speaking of baseball bits, I believe there's a fun video about do you steal off the pitcher or do you steal off the catcher? Really interesting insight into how this works, and I think if Yankees fans it would do some good to watch that video to kind of see what might have happened in the late innings of these games and why it's not necessarily Austin Wells' fault that the Rays started to run wild once the Yankees I guess the whole game was a bullpen game technically, but when they got deep into the bullpen and when Mark Leiter Jr. in particular. But they just need more from some of these guys. Now, it's May. You're now 5 weeks into the season. You're kind of hoping that a couple of these guys start to turn it on. And at least, like you talk about Wells and Volpe and what they bring defensively, they bring a tremendous amount of value to the organization, even without their bats. Bellinger is doing the same thing defensively, but his bat is more crucial to this Yankees lineup than either of the other two guys. He was never going to be a Soto replacement, but he was supposed to be a top half of the order guy that could hold his own, and this isn't holding his own. Batting 198 with a 710 OPS. Excuse me, a 610 OPS isn't holding your weight. I'm sorry. They need more from Cody Bellinger starting this month, and that's the biggest thing I want to keep an eye on, not just in Sunday, but for the going forward, is which Yankee bats start to emerge, because this is a team that's still sitting in first place atop the AL East. I expect them to be in that AL East and AL wildcard conversation throughout this season. This is a team that might look to add at the deadline, and this is a team that is going to have to figure out where at-bats are going to come from, and particularly where right-handed at-bats are going to come from, where the Yankees are seeing a ton of left-handed pitching because of their lefty-heavy lineup. You're going to start to see some lefties not get the benefit of the doubt later in the season if they're able to start getting some other bats into that lineup. So we will see what they do. They claimed a righty off waivers in the last 48 hours. I'm not sure. It was a Dela Cruz, I believe, they got from the Marlins. So let me double check on that, because he's one of those interesting names that, is someone that's not coming up right away, but is somebody, Brian Dela Cruz. And that's when they moved Stanton to the 60-day DL. They optioned Dela Cruz to AAA, but, he is a right-handed hitter, as that he has struggled. He's 28. He's 28 years old, but he has shown a little bit of pop in his time in Miami. He hit 40 home runs between these last two seasons. Again, nothing that's been crazy. He's off to a slow start this year in Atlanta. That's why he got sent down. But for a Yankees team that's looking for right-handed bats, and even in the outfield, you're looking at Jason Dominguez, you're looking at Cody Bellinger. Those are guys right now that you're not afraid to sit against lefties if you have that opportunity. They don't have the bench flexibility for that right now, but maybe they will soon. And, we've all been sitting worry about, where's Ben Rice going to play when Stanton comes back? Where's this? Well, there's some guys in the lineup right now that got to hold their weight. And guys I like. I like this Bellinger trade. I've been a fan of Jason Dominguez from the start. And by the way, Jason Dominguez is still hitting right-handed pitching really well. The problem is he's getting one or two at-bats against them, and then when he gets to the bullpen, he's almost exclusively seeing left-handed pitching late. They're just saying, because the fact that he's a switch hitter doesn't mean anything to them. Because you stick him between other lefties, they're like, well, he's batting righty anyway, so for them, he might as well just be a lefty matchup. So we'll see what the Yankees are able to do here with the lineup as they enter month 2 of the season. But Aaron Judge needs some help again, and we need to see it a little bit more consistently, especially since Ben Rice isn't Superman anymore. He's still great. I'm not giving up on Ben Rice, but you need somebody to pick up Ben Rice when he's not playing as well as he has been right now. You can't expect him to put up Aaron Judge-ian numbers over the course of the season, or else he'd be Aaron Judge. But they need other guys in this lineup to hold their weight, and they need some of the high-priced guys to hold their weight. And it starts with Cody Bellinger, and it trickles down to some of the other guys that can contribute as well.